Hi everyone, my name is Karen. This is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my August wrap-up part 1. So I've decided to split my August wrap-up into 2 parts as I had an awesome reading month in August. I read a total of 15 books, 1 graphic novel and 1 novella. So I just thought, rather than trying to speak really quickly about each of the books, I would just split it up into 2 parts. So I will in this video be touching on the first 9 books that I read in August. The first book that I picked up in August was An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. This book is basically just about a guy who's dated a lot of girls named Catherine, and he's just broken up with the most recent girl that he's dated named Catherine. It just kind of follows that story. This is only the second ever John Green that I've booked. The book that I've read, the only other book of his that I've read is The Fault in Our Stars, which I really enjoyed, as most people did. But this one I didn't really like. I only gave it 2.5 stars. I know John Green with some people is a bit hit or miss. As I said, I'd only ever previously read The Fault in Our Stars, which I did enjoy, so I don't know. I do still plan to pick up his other books like Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska at some point, but this one just wasn't really for me. I just didn't feel emotionally connected to any of the characters. The story was a bit predictable, a little bit boring even, and I just didn't love it. So I ended up, as I said, giving it 2.5 stars. The next book I picked up was Faking Perfect by Rebecca Phillips. This is a book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and Kensington Books for approving me to read this one. So this book is a contemporary book about a girl who has been kind of sleeping with this boy, a bad boy, and he always understood her rules, which were kind of like, you know, don't get involved, all the kind of standard rules, but he's starting to break them. The boy that she likes is starting to maybe show some interest as well, and her life is just getting really complicated. I really enjoyed this book. I thought going in it was just going to be like kind of your typical light, fluffy, contemporary read. It's really not. I was really surprised by kind of how much depth this book had. I really liked that all the characters are not just your perfect little cookie cutter characters. They all basically are really deeply flawed, and I really appreciated that in a contemporary read. My voice just went really weird, sorry. I also was really like kind of emotionally invested in the book and kind of the relation, not ships, because I kind of on one side of I guess it's kind of a love triangle, but it was really well handled in this book. It didn't bother me at all, and I was shipping 2 of the characters. I was really emotionally invested in their relationship, and I just really enjoyed reading about it. Something else that I really loved in this book that is something that most other books, particularly in the contemporary genre, are very guilty of, and this book didn't do it, is virginalizing particularly the main character. That is not done in this book at all. As I said, the book starts off with this girl. She's in a sexual relationship with this boy, and she's okay with that. And I loved that in this book, because quite often if the girl is not a virgin in these kind of books, then she regrets that she's not a virgin, or she's ashamed that she's not a virgin, or other people shame her for not being a virgin. And it wasn't done like that in this book. I thought it was handled really well, and I really loved that. So that's something else that was just really great about this book. The plot maybe was like a tad bit predictable, but it just didn't bother me at all. I just really thoroughly enjoyed this book, and in the end I gave it 4.25 stars, and it is definitely worth checking out. The next book I picked up was Heaven by Virginia Andrews. As you may have seen if you watched my August book haul, which I believe will be up before this wrap up, I mentioned that I read a lot of Virginia Andrews back in high school, and I just was kind of feeling like I wanted to check the series back out. And so this was a series that I had read, or I thought I had read, but I didn't remember that much about. So I decided to pick it up and look into it. Now, having read this, I remembered almost nothing about this book, but I am sure that I read it, but I am also pretty sure that I probably maybe didn't read the rest of the series when I was younger. Not for any particular reason, I remember nothing at all from this point forward, and I didn't remember the whole second half of this book. I don't think I read the whole series. But this book is just kind of your typical Virginia Andrews sorrow kind of story. It follows a girl, Heaven, who is from a very poor family. Her mother died, and her father then married this other woman and had a bunch of kids with him, but they are very, very poor. Like, they live out in, like, the boondocks, nowhere. They have no electricity. They don't have, like, proper clothes. Like, they're just very poor. The father then, after the stepmother leaves him with the children, he starts to sell the children off to other families, and he also ends up selling her, and it's kind of about her life kind of from then on. Like I said, it is just your typical Virginia Andrews story. It deals with all kinds of issues, serious kind of topics, and it's all like a very sad, drama-filled, sorrow-filled story. These books are just kind of like your trashy, almost like soap opera type books, but I did enjoy reading it, and I am interested definitely in finding out what happens in the rest of the series. I gave this one 3 stars. Next, I picked up a novella which was called Johnny's Girl by Paige Toon. This is the novella that comes after the duology, the first book of which was called Johnny Be Good. I really enjoyed the duology. It's just a contemporary series, and this is the, as I said, novella that comes after the series, kind of, you know, it's kind of the happily ever after kind of part of the book, I guess you could say. It is actually used, as I realized when I read it, as a bit of promotional material for a new series that she was bringing out connected to the series, which I don't really like that that's kind of what she did, but am I probably going to read that series now? Yeah. So it worked, and I did enjoy it. You didn't get as much in it as I would have liked, which is a common complaint I have with novellas. I did definitely enjoy it though, and so I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I picked up is Leftovers by Laura Weiss. I didn't know going in kind of what this was really about, and I don't know how to explain what this is really about. I'll just read you kind of the first line of the blurb, as that might give you a bit of an idea. Blair and Ardith are best friends who have committed an unforgivable act in the name of love and justice. So this book was okay. It's one of those books that after you read it, I really just didn't know how I felt about it. I had some problems with it, but it was like a compelling, at sometimes, read. It was a little bit confusing to read at times, as it did swap between kind of a second person narrative and a not second person narrative, which was a bit confusing. And I did appreciate that both of the main characters in this, Blair and Ardith, both have very different but equally horrible kind of home lives. And I appreciate kind of seeing two sides of the way that people can have horrible home lives and them kind of using their friendship like to get through their horrible home lives. I had some real problems with kind of what goes down in this book that I just can't really get into without spoiling the entire book for you. But it was like enjoyable. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. The next book I picked up was The Hand That Feeds You by AJ Rich. This is another book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and Simon & Schuster for approving me to read this one. This book has a very interesting premise. It is an adult novel about a woman who has been seeing this man, and she comes home one day and discovers that her dogs have torn this man apart. Like, he's dead. The dogs have killed him. Her beloved dogs that she loves. And it was very interesting, but it also then follows that she then kind of starts to discover that this man that she loved maybe isn't who she thought he was. So it was a very interesting premise. It dealt with some kind of things in this book that I've never really seen dealt with in other books that I've read. This book has some real psychological aspects, and it speaks a lot to kind of what defines a victim, and I found all that really interesting. I just really think that this is a psychological thriller worth picking up, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I picked up was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. This is the 4th book in the Hercule Poirot series, which I have been reading. I really enjoy Agatha Christie's books. I enjoy her writing, I enjoy her mysteries. All of her books are just kind of quick and are a good time. This book, holy shit. The ending? Mind blown. I have never read a book with an ending like this. It was amazing. And for the fact that this book was written in the 20s, the concept of this ending, having been written in that time, was just mind-boggling to me. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Agatha Christie is definitely worth checking out, just so you can read this book alone. It was really, really, really good. Just read it. Read Agatha Christie. It is well worth it, I assure you. The next book I picked up is The ABCs of Kissing Boys by Tina Ferraro. So this follows a girl who has played soccer basically her whole life, and she is going into her senior year, I believe. Is she going into her senior year? No, sorry, her junior year. But she didn't make varsity. All of the other girls on the team made varsity, but she did not. She has to stay on the JV. Is it called the JV? Yes, JV. Sorry, I'm Australian. We don't use those terms. But yes, she's still on the JV team, and she concocts this whole plan basically to find a way to get onto the varsity team using a kissing booth. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's the basic premise. This is a book that I bought in like a mass order off Book Outlet, and when I read the synopsis, I kind of thought, I'm not sure why I bought this, because to me, the synopsis actually sounds quite frankly a bit ridiculous, but I did pick it up, and so I read it. And while, yes, it is a bit ridiculous, it is still just an enjoyable kind of light, fluffy, very light and fluffy, contemporary, very YA read. I would say it's more for almost a younger YA audience, more than like an older YA audience, but it is definitely light and fluffy. It is one of those books that is a little bit too tied up in a nice little bow at the end for my liking, but if you enjoy light, fluffy, contemporary reads that are maybe for a slightly younger YA audience, then this is definitely worth checking out. In the end, I gave it 3 stars. I definitely didn't hate it or anything. The 9th book that I read in August, and the final book that I'll be talking about in this part 1 of my August wrap-up, was Heart of Ice by Sibel Stone. This is another book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and Romance Beckons for approving me for this one. This is a historical book set in Iceland, which is not a setting that I've seen very often, so that was interesting. And it follows a woman who is, though underqualified, she is becoming a governess to this man's 2 small children, and a romance kind of blossoms between these two, and it also kind of deals with a curse a little bit, as mentioned in the synopsis. This was an enjoyable read. I enjoyed the setting, the writing, and the characters, and I definitely enjoyed the relationship between the main character Lucinda and the 2 small children. I really just enjoyed their relationship. It was really nice. The kind of paranormal portions of this book I had a little bit of a problem with. They just were kind of like tacked on at different points, and they just didn't feel like part of the story overall, but I did still enjoy this book. I gave it 3.5 stars, and if you are interested in historical romances with a bit of a twist in them, then definitely check it out. So that is the first 9 books that I read in August. Stay tuned for my August part 2 wrap up, which I will hopefully have to you guys soon. Definitely comment down below and let me know what you guys read in August and what you've been enjoying, what you've been hating. Just let's talk down below. Please like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe if you want to see more. That's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys!